welcome. Welcome, everyone. Yeah, great that you're here. Oh, come on in. Yes, come on in. Yeah. It's just in time. Wow, let's get started. Today, the Christian Science Rediscovery. And this is, you could say, quantum physics class or quantum healing class. Because the thing that is happening, you will be, say, brought back to the origin, to the one moment of, you see it behind me, like the one moment of the Big Bang. And I went back today to that point, and that's why I love to share with you Genesis 1, John 1. In the beginning, right? You know, it's like in the beginning was the Word. This like has been going on for me, and the whole episode, the whole day. It's unbelievable. The beauty of it is that it is so relevant to you. Incredible. I will make attempts to express it and to come to the simplicity of what it actually entails. And once you've heard that, I can guarantee you that once you've heard what I try to share here, you can never listen to anything the same way again. It's really like, wow, that's so discombobulating, so unbelievable. And so that should trigger some anticipation about what is coming, and that would be so appropriate. It really is. So this is the come on in. This is the Christian Science Rediscovery. So and that's very interesting because we go so far, so deep into it, and with say increased simplicity, and that it is even easier to go deeper into it. Because what happens when you read in Mary Baker, for instance, in the Science and Health with key to the scripture. It's like, that's really great, wonderful to read, but it is also like broadening out instead of broadening in. This is what I discover when I read it. So it's not necessarily broadening in. Like there's of course a necessity to go deeply within, not being concerned, in fact, with sickness and health and death and limitation. And like the whole setup related to trying to figure out what the hell is going on with sickness and health, what the hell is going on with a human life, with human existence, with all kinds of conflicts related to it. What is going on with that? And now this becomes very simple with what we're about to discover. So hold on, stay tuned, but see, in order to be able to express it in the level where it can be received, we have to do some exercise. We have to come to like, oh yeah, wait, oh yeah, let's go. Oh yeah, let go. Yeah, wait. Oh yeah, it's within me. Oh yeah. All these things need to happen first. So it's like we go through our discipline to enter our withinness and connect, especially today, even deeper than ever before, with that, because it's going to reveal something to us that will be life-changing in that sense. Is that like totally life-changing? Like I can never read Joel or read the Bible or read anything again without knowing this as my guide. So that's what happened to me today, and what I love to share with you. So we start our practice of the same idea. Like we start with a deep miracle prayer from the lessons of this book, like the Urtext of A Course in Miracles. We use that because these are the words of Jesus. He will be part of the of this, of course, too. It's like he's the ultimate inspiration in receiving this, and that's why we use it, because there's no way I cannot find any of the same say prayers that exactly put it right on the spot. And right on the spot is exactly where that is. So we have heard about the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, and so today it is the beginning of the origin. You could say the origin of being. So sit back and relax, and don't forget to breathe. I am forever an effect of God. Father, I was created in your mind, a holy thought that never left its home. I am forever your effect, and you forever and forever are my cause. As you created me, I have remained. Where you established me, I still abide. And all your attributes abide in me, because it is your will to have a son so like his cause that cause and its effects are indistinguishable. Let me know that I am an effect of God, and so have the power to create like you. And as it is in heaven, so on earth. Your plan I follow here. And at the end I know that you will gather your effects into the tranquil heaven of your love, where earth will disappear, and separate things unite in glory as the Son of God. Let us today behold earth disappear, at first transformed and then forgiven, fade entirely into God's holy will.
Je suis à jamais un effet de Dieu. Père, j'ai été créé dans ton esprit une sainte pensée qui n'a jamais quitté sa demeure. Je suis à jamais ton effet, et tu es pour toujours et à jamais ma cause. Tel que tu m'as créé, je suis resté. Là où tu m'as établi, je demeure encore. Et tous tes attributs demeurent en moi parce que c'est ta volonté d'avoir un fils si pareil à sa cause que la cause et son effet sont indistinguables. Fais-moi connaître que je suis un effet de Dieu et que j'ai toujours le pouvoir de créer comme toi. Et comme cela est au ciel, ainsi sur la terre. Je suis ton plan ici. Et à la fin, je connais que tu rassembleras tes effets dans le paradis tranquille de ton amour, où la terre disparaîtra et où toutes les pensées séparées s'uniront dans la gloire en tant que fils de Dieu. Aujourd'hui, regardons la terre s'estomper, d'abord transformée, et puis pardonner, disparaître entièrement dans la sainte volonté de Dieu.
All right, thank you so much for joining in the meditation. It's really lovely. See, this was also based on the idea of effect and cause. Now here's an essential thing. It's like everything that happens in your hearing this or in your perception of this is the fact, of course, related to how you are looking at this. So going back to the idea of origin, for instance, and thinking you're an effect of God, you might not put the two together right away, as that cause and effect aren't separate. It's one thing. It's whole. It is not two separate things. There's not God in you. So this comes together, and this principle is in fact what happens continuously when healing occurs. You bring the opposites together. They are one. There's no duality. No, there's one. There's always one. Now this, you see, if I read to you what we're going to do in a moment, Genesis 1, for instance, or John 1, it's like in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. That might seem as a very, very long time ago. And why is that you see that as a long, long time ago? Because you think in terms of time. You think in terms of a linear time. Everything is based on how you are thinking and who you think that you are. So to put yourself right on the spot, you could say, include yourself completely in with the cause and with the effect. That would make everything different. Now this is a bit the key for today's meeting. It is the key that you see that opposites are never apart. Like there is no such thing as opposites. And as long as you perceive opposites, a healthy body, a sick body, on and on and on. It's like, as long as you see those differences and you think that they are apart from one another, then you're still in the process of coming to this place of recognition of there's one thing here. Now that is one part that is essential. So the way that you look at things determines how you are experiencing yourself. And that has a physical impact too, of course. It's like that has a physical impact because if you think my heart is not functioning well while my brain is doing pretty good, then you don't see the body as one, but you see separate parts. Just to give an example. So this goes really, really far. And that's the great part of it too. Now if I read Mary Baker, or I read Joel, or I read a scientific paper about, for instance, the Big Bang, what happens is that it's put in time. It is like an occurrence in time, as if you would read a newspaper. Like it's based on how anyone is looking at it in the time that they are writing it, or in the time that they share it. And not in fact referring back to that there's only one moment, one time, there's only one instant, there's only one origin, and that origin is completely related to you. That is literally what you are and not anything else. Like this has everything to do with you. This is a total relationship with you, because cause and effect are not apart. God as your cause and you as the effect are inseparable. Now this is where, say, the quantum healing or the miracle healing, where we will read some principles of, is based on the idea that no, this whole thing of time that you see in front of you is made up. It has no relevance, in fact. We use it now temporarily because you believe in it, but in reality there's no such thing. And if you allow that idea to abolish, to fall apart, then in fact what happens is you're right in the middle of your quantum experience. You're right in the middle of the origin of the Big Bang that is taking place right in this instant. It wasn't 15 million years ago or something like that, 15 billion years ago. What do I care? It's like, no, then that would mean that it is a long time for me to go back to the origin of it. While I can, say, zap into that origin, since the alpha and the omega are one, they're not two separate things. It collapses in itself. And this you saw in the miracle prayer that we were sharing. It's like the earth disappears. The cause and effect become indistinguishable because they are. There is no separate things. Now that you will hear that today differently in different ways, but all with the in fact the possibility to say come to the place where you can allow time to collapse. Like, don't hold on to anything timely in this hour. Don't hold on to any idea of that you're not included in the whole story. No, you are that story. You are completely one with Source. You're inseparable from it. The rest has no relevance. The rest has no reality whatsoever. So now we can walk this all kinds of ways. It is like, okay, how you want to approach this. So we have some expressions of Mary Baker. We have some John, as I said, Genesis 1. And maybe start with that, because it is, if you hear this a little bit, it becomes so incredibly, overwhelmingly beautiful that you want more of it. So it really doesn't matter with which I start, since there's no real time sequence going on at all. So in the beginning, so I'm using miracle principles. I'll come back to those in a minute. Oh, let's read the Big Bang. So this is from Wikipedia. And whatever. It's like, okay, this is a human idea about the Big Bang. And the Big Bang is a physical theory that describes how the universe expanded from an initial state of high density and temperature. The notion of an expanding universe was first scientifically originated by physicist Alexander Friedman in 1922 with the mathematical derivation of Friedman's equations. Okay, great. 1922. So like Mary Baker didn't hear about that at that point, probably. So that's good to know too then. This is written when? This is given to one another. This is ending up in our Bible. And this is translated from the Aramaic Plain English Bible, the Peshitta Bible. And I use the Aramaic because this was in the language of Aramaic. John was speaking in the language of Aramaic. And directly translated from it, it sounds like this. The beginning. And it refers to Genesis 1, 1-2. In the beginning, in the origin, the Word has been existing, and that Word had been existing with God, and that Word was himself God. This one himself was at the origin with God. This one himself was at the origin with God. Everything was in his hand, and without him not even one thing existed of the things that existed. In him was the life, and the life is the light of men. And the light is shining in the darkness, and the darkness did not overtake it. Everything was in his hand, and without him not even one thing existed of the things that existed. In him was the life, and the life is the light of man. And the light is shining in the darkness, and the darkness did not overtake it. So the basis then is this: it's like in the origin, the Word has been existing. That Word has been existing with God, and that Word was Himself God. This one Himself was at the origin with God. Now here, immediately, you can feel this. When you read this, something happens to you, because you can either have like, okay, that's the occurrence. It seems like an occurrence, and that occurrence took place at a certain point in time, and that was God. He was doing something, like it was the beginning. He created the universe. He created the universe. Now this, you've heard this 1,000 times. You know this part of John 1 probably, and so coming out of this, it's like the interesting part is the invitation today then to include yourself completely into this Genesis 1 or John 1. Include yourself completely in. It's like, this is about me. This has everything to do with the origin of me. Like, I am in that origin. I am that origin. If that origin is within me, and nothing else exists, nothing else exists. All the darkness that I think I perceive has no basis, because the light of man, the light was created. The light that I am shines the darkness away. Now this is huge. So it's like the inclusion of it is everything. So in fact, what you do in your experience of yourself is you have here an invitation to go back to the origin of, say, this is where it starts. This is where I'm originating. This is where I am created. Like you could compare it very well with a present moment. Like in this moment that is taking place. It didn't happen 50 million, billion, whatever, years ago. No, it must be happening now. And I can come into a full experience of that. So this is really important to at least open up a little bit to hear this, to see that it is all inclusive, not the way that you see yourself. No, the way that you are, the way that you are created. There has never been a moment that you were separate from your creator. There has never been a moment. No, of course not. Like, absolutely not. So hold on. Mostly I say let go, but this time I say hold on. Stay right here. Don't move an inch. So the word then is, you can express it as created action. And that's the Aramaic word for the word is created action. And so in the origin, created action has been existing, and that created action had been existing with God. And the created action himself was God. That's why God is the creator. And you are a whole part of that. So that's an amazing discovery. That is life-changing in your idea about yourself. You probably never heard yourself as being a total part of this creation, except that God in time has created you as a body somewhere at a certain point or something, that you might have an idea of that. But that is not the case. So it's like, no, you've always been there. You've always been a total part of your creator. So this is cool. So we're continuing. Now Mary Baker starts with Genesis 1:2 here. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void. And darkness was upon the face of the deep. In the fast forever, in the science and the truth of being, the only facts are spirit and its innumerable creations. Darkness and chaos are imaginary opposites of light, understanding and eternal harmony, and they are the elements of nothingness. Darkness and chaos are the imaginary opposites of light, and they are the elements of nothingness. See, understanding and eternal harmony are light, but darkness and chaos are the elements of nothingness. Let's get this right. Science of being, one moment of divine consciousness or the spiritual understanding of life and love is foretaste of eternity. This exalted view, obtained and retained when the science of being is understood as knowledge, would bridge over with life discerned spiritually the interval of death, and man would be in the full consciousness of his immortality and eternal harmony, where sin, sickness and death are unknown. Time is a mortal thought, the divisor of which is the solar year. Eternity is God's measurement of soul-filled years. So Mary Baker here says here in the beginning was the Word, in the beginning God created heaven and earth. It's like the only facts are spirit and its innumerable creations. Yeah, and that's the only fact that is there. The rest, like what we can imagine, have nothing to do with the reality of being. Okay. I'll come back to that later. So now we step back to the miracle principles. I'm not going to do all of them, but some of them. Here's one. Because they talk about the abolishment of time. A miracle has the unique property of abolishing time by rendering the space of time it occupies unnecessary. By rendering the space of time it occupies unnecessary. There's no relationship between the time a miracle takes and the time it covers. It substitutes for learning that might have taken thousands of years. It does this by underlying recognition of perfect equality and holiness between the doer and receiver on which the miracle rests. Now this is a quantum principle. The quantum principle is really like quantum entanglement that takes place. The doer and the receiver are recognizing perfect equality and holiness. Yeah? Underlying recognition of perfect equality and holiness between the doer and the receiver on which the miracle rests. Now, this is a humongous, like an incredible healing principle. The doer and the giver, the doer and the receiver, the doer and the receiver recognize each other's oneness. And in fact, share a moment of that in recognition of their Father. We shared this before. It's like, that's an amazing recognition. But something happens when you recognize your equality. And this is the basic spiritual healing principle that Joel uses all the time. But here it's put in word by Jesus, because we're talking about a quantum healing here. It's like the moment that you recognize your equality, the perfect equality between you and your brother. And it is an incredible loving act, like an incredible moment of forgiveness for both the giver or the receiver. Who cares? It's like, no, you recognize each other. You recognize your oneness for just a moment. What happens in that moment is that you are saved thousands of years of going through the human suffering, as you have are familiar with, nothing weird about it, no. So it's like that, by this one moment that this recognition takes place, time has abolished all of that. Time has abolished, in fact, time is collapsed for you in recognizing this this equality. So that means that you don't have to go for 1,000 years learning lifetime after lifetime to come to this. Now this is important. So how are we using this today in a very specific setup? Because I'm talking about Mary Baker expressing herself. I'm talking about Jesus, who is like the inspirator of this. We're going to take a little bit of a look at it, how this actually works, because it's worth taking a moment for it. Because you can have an holy instant with Jesus. You can have a holy instant with anyone. It's like that is not related to time and space whatsoever. So here we have it. So here's something that's being offered you. You cannot believe what is right in front of you. It's really like that. If you can hear this, that is a tremendous help for yourself, recognizing that as an opportunity, as a possibility, say, as a new ingredient in your mind, in your consciousness. This has to do with nobody comes to the Father but by me. I talked about this a couple of days ago too. Like, no man cometh to the Father but by me is among one of the most misunderstood statements in the Bible. That's why I come back to it again. Like, it does not mean that I'm in any way separate or different from you. Otherwise, he would literally not be able to fulfill his function. So it's like, don't make an idol out of me. No, use me, because I'm not separate from you. I'm not different from you. And we continue. Accept in time. Accept in time. Now we know that time does not exist. Actually, the statement is more meaningful if it is considered on a vertical rather than a horizontal time frame. Like, it's a vertical axis way you should look at this. And there's a reason for that. It's here. Regarded along the vertical, man stands below me and I stand below God. In the process of rising up, I am higher. This is because without me the distance between God and man is too great for man to encompass. I bridge the distance as an elder brother to man on the one hand and a son of God on the other. My devotion to my brother has placed me in charge of the sonship, which I can render complete, only to the extent I can share it. Now here is the invitation for a speed up, not for anything else. My devotion to my brothers has placed me in charge of the sonship, which I can render complete only to the extent I can share it. In other words, if you are open to receive this, if you are open to say, open up to the direct union with the Christ in you, or the Christ in you, that's the way to say it. Like, if you allow the holy instances to take place with your brother and recognize that this Christ is in your brother, then there's an incredible speed up possible. That's unheard of. It collapses time as much as you want. Like, only in your willingness, or say even considering the idea that that is possible and having that as an option, as a possibility, it can bring you right to the beginning of time, to the end of time, which is the beginning of time. Like it can bring you right to the moment of origin, to the direct experience of God. And now you see the entanglement that I was talking about. Like entanglement is this, is like two particles or two energies meet each other, and whatever happens, if they go their way, they're not separate at all. They cannot be separate. So what happens to this one is also happening to this one at the same time, with no, see, you can see it already. See, it's like it's entangled. Whether I'm in New York or whether I'm at the other end of the universe, it would still work. See, it still works. And this is the quantum entanglement I'm talking about. Now, why is that so important? Because if you look at how you read everything, how you read your spiritual scripture, how you read the Bible, how you read Joel, Mary Baker, Course in Miracles, how you read it is possibly that you, say, project it on a timeline. Mary Baker lived 100-something years ago, had a great has great ideas. Joel is a little bit later. He talks about Bible too. He brings it back to blah, blah, blah. And who knows how you're thinking. My description isn't very precise, as you can see. But what I'm saying is, before... are you reading, in fact, this is the question, are you reading with the full inclusion of yourself into the whole story, opening the possibility for a quantum moment with the one who's actually giving you this, who can actually share this with you? Are you willing to receive that? Now, this is, in fact, where it comes down to. Like, no matter what is being shared in that sense, are you willing to connect with the one that is expressing it? Are you are you allowing a time collapse to take place? And I hope that's clear for you in seeing that there's no way that you can be excluded of any of this. It's like it's a total inclusion all the time. This is about you. And everything is about you. You open the Bible. What is that book, the Bible? It originates in you. It is all about you. It has with nothing else to do but you. It is not a history about someone or something or some people or who knows what. It's like, no, this is all about you. You are at the origin. You are one with the origin. And then it becomes really fun to read again. Then you see how the mind of anyone who is writing anything is centered. Is it centered on the diversion into time, or is it converging back to its origin? Is it helping you to go within and find that place within yourself where that takes place? Are you willing to, say, join with your brother to recognize the origin of you and share that together, collapsing time and seeing that all the plans that I had in time, where I move out in time, where I undertake all kinds of stuff to make more time, am I willing to let that go for a moment, to take time to go within and have, say, coming closer to the moment in which I will completely collapse into my origin? That's in fact the spiritual path that you're on. But this reference point of origin is so incredible, helpful, and so bringing you back to it, giving you a focus to it, that you don't want to miss out on that. You want to keep that close to yourself. So, like I said, once you have heard this, you cannot read Genesis 1 or John 1 without including yourself in. It's like, that is happening in me. It has everything to do with me. Not as I see myself right now, but as I truly am, and I can experience that. And it is only about, am I willing to converge or to focus my attention to this origin where Alpha and Omega come together as one, or am I still looking for making time and bringing in another couple of death episodes? It's really like that. So now here's something else going on, which is another beautiful expression. Miracles are a part of an interlocking chain of forgiveness, which, when completed, is the atonement. This process works all the time and in all dimensions of time. Now, see, forget to understand what this means, but it makes total sense. So miracles are a part of interlocking chain of forgiveness, which when completed is the atonement, the complete undoing of what you thought you were. This process works all the time and in all dimensions of time. A miracle, here's the Alpha and the Omega. A miracle is a beginning and an ending. It thus abolishes time. It is always an affirmation of rebirth, which seems to go back, but really go forward. It undoes the past in the present and thus releasing the future. A miracle has thus, I'm just repeating this, a miracle has thus the unique property of abolishing time by rendering the space of time it occupies unnecessary. That's why it's like it's a shift into invisibility. There is no relation between the time a miracle takes and the time it covers. It substitutes for learning that might have taken thousands of years. It does this by the underlying recognition of perfect equality of holiness between doer and receiver on which the miracle rests. Okay, good. Oh, yes, here. I thought there was something. So I started to write down some quantum healing principles. Now let me introduce this a little bit. Okay. The quantum healing principles. Now if you go online to check out some quantum healing principles, you almost immediately fall into scientific reports with possibilities, with impossibilities to in fact prove it, what they are suggesting, with an idea of time, with an idea of how it might work in the future. You know what I'm saying? It's like it is completely placed in time, and these expressions are completely placed in time, and that's simply not where they belong, you could say, because in fact there's a possibility to use these quantum principles to see that they are working. They are not working in time. Now they are working in abolishing time. They collapse time. And this is so incredibly simple that it might be helpful or might not be helpful. We'll see. In the origin is perfection. Well, you can agree with that. So this is like, yeah, of course. The origin, the beginning is all that I am, right? That origin is what I am. That origin is communicating as one. It's all perfect sense. All power and being is that one. Literally, there's nothing outside of that, right? You can totally agree with that. So quantum healing then is the abolishment of time to return to this origin. Now you can say, wait, quantum healing is the abolishment of time to return to this origin that you can never have left, because this is the only thing there is. Now we know this too. You see this expressed in many ways. It's like it's a matter of remembering, it's a matter of this and that. Now the interesting thing with the quantum healing principles that I wrote down is that they make perfect sense. They're so logical and so like, yeah, of course. So that does something with you if you sit with them. And if you, they dissolve all kinds of stuff, is my experience. It's like not that they in themselves have power, but they just help you to free yourself from any kind of idea of time, of time occupation, of thinking that something needs to happen here, or that you need to develop yourself in some kind of way. Like if this origin is within you, and it is all that you are, then say coming to that by the quantum leaps that we take, by recognizing ourselves, forgiving our neighbor, forgiving our say our brothers, step by step, in a total act of love giving, and opens the way to enter quickly to this origin, to enter back into this origin. It's like it's all about abolishing time, speeding up time, not having this longevity of time, not using that, say, Newtonian physics idea of a timeline in which things are, like if there's matter and with all the laws related to it. It's like that is too slow, that will never represent your truth. So this is the same, of course, with your body, physicality, and with your physical ideas about yourself. So it's like you want to shift in your physical configuration, and that is going to help you to actually take, say, to open up, to forgive, to literally connect in the recognition of your love for your brother, recognizing the same source and celebrating that for a moment in a recognition. And whether you do that directly with someone or with Jesus, it's like the great thing is to come into an holy instant with Jesus, you could say, because it is like the entanglement takes place. It's not an exchange. No, it is a vibratory recognition in which this energy print, you could say, of the one, like that you're connecting with, will be forever with you in a new vibration that is part of this holy instant. I hope that makes sense. It's so great. So I've experiences with that with the master teacher. It's like to come to that on a daily basis, to come back into the present moment again, like to release time as much as you can, like to release time completely for just a moment, to come in touch with, to come into an holy instant, having that as your new experience of yourself. You see that time is collapsing really fast and bringing you back to yourself, deeply into your physical process and release of emotional release related to it, but also not caring of that. It is almost like a slow motion curling up of time back into the origin, as if you enter into a wormhole in space, where you suddenly have a collapse from one universe into another. So, and this is a bit like put in words what you will experience in this time collapse. So this is great. So in other words, we're not looking at the future. We're like, okay, maybe in the future you will come to this big bang. It's like, no, you're at the center of it. So it's a matter of leave the rest, continuously leave the rest. You don't have to make it happen. It is accomplished, and it's accomplished in you. It is your resurrecting body coming to, in fact, to its wholeness. So that's why it heals. And that's why the concern about the body that you might have now is gone. It's going. It's like it's going. Now here's one more principle, and then I'll stop. I try to get this to an end, but I really wanted to put this down here to share this with you because of the say the relevance of it. So the one thing is this: it's like except for the fact that you want to be dislodged from this timeline idea in your thinking, you also have this thing: is that this Christian Science healing, or quantum healing, or Jesus of Nazareth healing, or however you want to call it, miracle healing, works much better than you think. And the tendency to pick up the old idea of time that you had about yourself, even about your physicality, might still play a role in your experience of yourself. And this is what I'm saying to you many times. It's like, it's working a lot better than you think. So it's like, allow it to be completely new all the time, because in fact, to see that the healing took place puts a great responsibility in your lap. And so be willing to accept that. What I mean with that is this: is like if you are doing well, if you recognize your total healing, your total acceptance of yourself, your whole-mindedness, your total God dependency, if you recognize that, then you cannot do anything else. Like, there's not some old idea you want to pick up and walk around with. Now this is essential. An old idea to walk around with, for instance, is the idea that you have seen yourself as. That idea needs to go. You know, it's so important. Any description that you have given yourself has to be released in order to come to a new experience of yourself. You know this, but like I said, there's a sort of a resistance to receiving that responsibility of the new you for yourself. That's a really interesting thing, isn't it? It's like, I totally get it. I totally, I'm not blaming you that you do it. No, not at all. I totally get it. I totally recognize that as the tendency of the human mind to fall asleep again, or to stay in sleep, is enormous. It's like, it's unbelievable. But here the opportunities that are offered here are so amazing that you want to use that and forget about any description that you ever held about yourself. Like, none of that is true, since there's no such thing as time, and literally all time has already collapsed back into the origin in you, not anywhere else. So this is really something else. This is really something else. So in the beginning was the Word, the created action, and the Word is God, and the Word is God. The created action is what God is, and God is within you. So this created action is what you are, is where you are the co-creator of, and that puts it right in the place where the actual occurrence is. A bit of quantum healing. So we're going into the laboratory again. Listen to an old friend, a master teacher. He's with us in this, very much so, together with Jesus, of course.
We need the demonstrations of it, teachers, through the declarations of you, that it's in fact happening. These will be the miracles. Will there be specific miracles or actual shifts in time? Of course. Remember that in the overall picture of all of the perceptions of this quadrum of time, as Master Jesus, this is a direct program, all right, that time facilitation has already occurred, and you may join with it at the highest level of the elimination of the necessity for perceptual self-evaluation. I don't know how clear this is, but those of you who are walking along now and suddenly these miracles are beginning to happen around you, and I want to verify that. I want to say, yes, that's true. These things are happening. And it would be important that you see that it's just your mind. There isn't any sense in you being critical of other consciousnesses that you have constructed around you to assist you in the denial of your own reality. Jesus calls this forgiveness, teacher. There isn't any sense in you laying the blame or sharing the guilt for what you term sickness and death with these other mind forces or mind thoughts that are contained within your limited identity with yourself in this time framework. Stop doing it. This is a course in coming to know yourself, and this requires the admission, okay, that the thoughts that you've had and the ones that keep cropping up are all just part of this time continuum in your own mind associations, aren't they? Can the miracle happen? Dear teacher, the miracle is happening perfectly right now, of course, because it would not be possible since you invented time for you simply to make a decision to step out of it and awaken to the truth and glory of the light that is shining all about you. Isn't that lovely? He is risen. He is risen indeed. The graphic demonstration of that appears within your so-called historic memory is the resurrection, the reconfiguration of a single whole body, which has to be you, doesn't it? It cannot not be because you have that thought. It's impossible that you can't use this as a vehicle to wake up. We encourage you to do so now. We'll be back soon. We're here at God's Country Place talking about the resurrection, the enlightenment, the wholeness of you in association with all universal consciousness. Hang on. And we're back here talking about healing again, and everybody says, yes, well, why doesn't the teacher then teach that death is an opinion? And that sickness is an opinion that you have about yourself, and the application of so-called nostrums of healing are nothing but attempts to hold yourself in your own tension, in your own sickness framework. Then the healing must occur. All right. You say, well, is it necessary that I believe you, teacher, in order for the miracle to occur? I assure you that if you believed me absolutely and unqualifyingly, that the phrase that Master Jesus uses, your faith has made you whole, will positively work. Of course, it could not work, because these are declarations of the truth of the wholeness of you. I watch these teachers out trying to heal, and they don't like the word faith, and they're very fearful of the healing actually occurring. Did you know that? It's their own fear that keeps the miracle from happening, because it would be the admission, okay, that their responsibility is only to the truth of God rather than to themselves, and their determination to formulate the process of the wholeness of the mind. Jesus calls that magic. He says you do successfully, momentarily in time, continue to change the images that are about you through the magic of the power of your mind. And it's fun to watch all of the so-called abundance cults and the teachings of limited prayer that cause changes in the phenomenological association of perceptual mind. And indeed they do. But where do they lead but to death? Because the consciousness is limiting himself within that framework of his predetermined annihilation. This is what I'm trying to take away from you. Huh? And this, if you would like to hear this, is what we succeeded in doing. I assure you that it's impossible for you to be listening to this tape or to be in association with this new mind without having resurrected. This is the major admission that's required of you. This will lead you directly to the determination that this is already over and happened, okay? Well, or didn't happen, coming with the admission that it's already all over. And out of time, I promise you that you at this moment have the absolute capacity to determine through the power of your mind that all of this is not so. Now, you are looking at it in terms of some sort of sacrifice because you believe that it's possible for you to exchange your ideas about yourself with wholenesses or God's idea about you. I assure you that's not possible. I am teaching the relinquishment or the death of self. Know ye not, Nicodemus, that you must be born again? Huh? And this is what's coming about now. Remember that this is a physical transaction. Okay? You are in this bodily association, and the enlightenment of your whole cellular relationship is the requirement for the absolute miracle. Boy, are we happy that we finally are beginning to work this new light energy in you. And we're grateful to the planners of this in our mutual minds, aren't we? They heard this call for help emanating at the maturation point in time and have done a direct insertion to aid in the recall of this colony of desolation that is operating in the netherland of despair. So come join with me now in this light association that has come directly into your mind. Wow. We'll be back. What's going to occur to you, we're back here talking now, as this miracle of the new mind or the enlightenment occurs in you is the absurdity of perceptual associate evaluation. That the thought forms that you construct, and those include the ideas of linear association, are only formulated within themselves as you have constructed your mind. This will amaze you. In regard to time, all right, in regard to time, in Time magazine this week is a statement of, that the Big Bang, okay, the beginning of space-time, in a fiery affirmation of energy, occurred 15,000 million years ago. Right? 15,000 million years. Okay. Now, I would direct the consciousnesses that are held in their perceptual observations of relative time, that is, somewhere they must be to come up with a figure like that, to tell me exactly what the difference between 15,000 million years is and a million years, or 100 years, or 1 year, or 10 minutes, except within the association of their thought form. What we declare to you, and you hear this now, is the distance between the cause and the effect, which is the thought of your mind and its subsequent result, will be exactly, okay, as far apart as where you have maturated in your own self-declarations of the extension of your mind, your creative capacity, not more and not less. We're going to begin then with the assumption that the miracle occurs when cause and effect are brought together, and that if you have a thought of happiness and wholeness, it must extend from you and include all of the previous projections of your mind, okay, that are in some sort of past or future framework of reference. And I declare to you that this is a fact, and that this is actually happening all around you, but that you individually in your own limited perception, refuse to acknowledge it for fear of losing your self-associations, even unto the death of yourself or the annihilation yourself, as you have made yourself in linear time. Isn't this so? Now, the resistance to this is enormous because it's a statement that you must include the philosophy of reality, the theology, the scientific endeavors of objective reality with subjective certainty in with the psychology or the wholeness of the power of your mind. We used to call this the bringing together of religion and science or philosophy, the liberal art of creating with your mind. We're here to tell you that you can do this and must do this if you would escape the chaotic associations with perception that have caused you to construct what we would term hell. Okay, your need to put together the chaos of historic thought in the moment or contained within what you refer to as the Big Bang is extraordinary. If the Big Bang began, it's over. Okay, you may keep yourself there for 15,000 million years, and Master Jesus in the Course says you can keep yourself there another 15,000 million years, or you can, as you did, hear this now and step directly out of through the continuing practicing of bringing together of sequential time in your mind. You may make this moment the moment of the Big Bang, can't you? This is the Alpha and the Omega. This is the direction we want you to pursue, because we testify that if you will pursue it, you will succeed, and did, because it's only the power of your mind that is keeping you from seeing the wholeness and glory of the reality of you right now. We'll be back. Yes, I want to put this on the tape, and this is directly connected to Master Jesus or any awakened mind. I'm perfectly aware that the message being presented to you through the Course in Miracles or through this statement of wholeness of mind is finally going to meet a great deal of resistance from perceptual mind limitation, because remember that the perceptual mind and limitation, the so-called human being, the ego, is constructed specifically not to hear this message. Okay, and the ludicrousy of that will begin to appear to you if you see what they do with the Course in Miracles, with the simple teachings that God is a fact and that this isn't real. And the manners in which the mechanisms of limited time perception will deny it and attack it and declare, no, that isn't possible. I'm going to figure this out within my own limited devices rather than simply stepping back in my own perceptual thoughts and allowing the miracle of the light reality to occur. But remember, you are in an association with temporalness. Let's just look at it factually. Show me a consciousness that is eternal here. Show me anything that doesn't involve defense and conflict. Master Jesus expresses this throughout the Course. You're born in pain, you live in tribulation, and you accept it as a normal part of the friction or the tension or the disease of perceptual association. And it's inevitably that it be there, because perception is what conflict is, finally, isn't it? So that when you bring these thoughts into a higher range of association, the miracle occurs automatically, doesn't it? But remember, this is then subjective reality. This is the statement, okay, that all of this is only in your mind. And know how tempted you are, and again Jesus says this, no matter how tempted you are to believe that there are forces outside of you that are asserting the conflict in your association with yourself, either from a beneficent, from a good standpoint, or from a bad standpoint. It is simply not so. The power of healing must be contained in your mind, because the splitness that is the direction of your apparent reality is not so because thought is singular. Okay, you are God or wholeness, creating, not more and not less than that. So if you will bring all of these thought forms, all of these ideas that you have about yourself, okay, into a single picture of wholeness, this is the holy instant. This is when the miracle must occur. Is this literally a change in the activities that are going on around you in space-time? Of course. Why would that be difficult? If indeed there are 100,000 trillion worlds, what's wrong with this little world being your dream? The miracle occurring simply in your rising up. The resurrection can only be the rising of you out of the sick bed of the hallucination of the world. You're dreaming. This is not real. This is not so. And I understand that the perceptual mind will attack this idea as it has always attacked the idea of wholeness in its determination to assert itself and continue to obliviate itself. You can't die. Let's start with that and then watch the miracle as it occurs more and more in this reference of Master Jesus out of body and out of time. Use the Course in Miracles. And we are evolving the advanced teachers, out-of-time teachers that will assist you with this if you need it, and you are going to become one in affiliation with this message, I assure you, or you wouldn't be hearing this message. This then is the circle of atonement. And your admission of it is what salvation is.